The hospital waiting room felt like it was closing in on Mark Jenkins as he stared at the clock, 3:47 p.m. In exactly 13 minutes, a doctor would walk through those double doors with test results that could change everything for his 8-year-old daughter, Emma. What he didn't know was that the elegant woman in the designer suit who had just taken the seat beside him would transform this day in ways he never could have imagined. If you've ever felt alone during life's most terrifying moments, this story might just restore your faith in humanity. Before we continue, take a second to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more real stories that remind us of the unexpected connections that can save us when we need it most. Mark shifted uncomfortably in the hard plastic chair, his calloused hands fidgeting with Emma's worn teddy bear. 3 months of mysterious symptoms had led to this moment: unexplained bruising, fatigue that no 8-year-old should experience, and most recently, nosebleeds that wouldn't stop. The preliminary tests had been concerning enough for the pediatrician to refer them to an oncologist, and that single word, cancer, had haunted Mark's every waking moment since. "Daddy, promise you won't be scared when I'm at Aunt Lisa's," Emma had said that morning, her small hands framing his face. "Remember what you always tell me? Brave faces make brave hearts." He'd promised, of course. But sitting alone in that waiting room, his brave face was crumbling by the second. The woman who sat down beside him wore confidence like a second skin. Her charcoal gray suit was impeccably tailored, her dark hair pulled back in a sleek bun that emphasized sharp cheekbones and intelligent eyes. She placed her leather portfolio on her lap and exhaled slowly, the first crack in what otherwise appeared to be perfect composure. Mark barely registered her presence until she suddenly turned to him. "Excuse me," she whispered, her voice low and urgent. "This is going to sound incredibly strange, but I need a favor. Could you please act like you're my husband for the next 20 minutes? Mark blinked, certain he'd misheard. "I'm sorry, what?" The woman glanced nervously at the reception desk. "My ex-husband was supposed to be here. The doctor insisted on having both parents present for our son's follow-up appointment, and Jason, of course, had a work emergency at the last minute." She made air quotes with her fingers, bitterness seeping through her professional veneer. "If they realize I'm alone again, they'll reschedule, and I can't," her voice caught. "I can't make Tyler wait another week for these results. He's been through enough." Before Mark could respond, a nurse appeared at the reception desk. "Mrs. Calloway? Dr. Patel is ready for you and your husband." The woman, Mrs. Calloway, looked at Mark with pleading eyes. Perhaps it was the teddy bear in his hands, or the shared weight of parental fear that hung in the air between them, but Mark found himself standing. "Lead the way," he said quietly. Alexandra Calloway had built her life on careful planning and strategic decisions. As the CEO of a successful tech company, she prided herself on never being caught unprepared. Yet motherhood had taught her that some things couldn't be controlled, no matter how meticulously you planned. When her 12-year-old son Tyler had first complained about headaches 6 months ago, she'd assumed it was too much screen time. When the headaches persisted and were joined by dizziness and occasional vomiting, the pediatrician had ordered an MRI just to rule things out. The brain tumor they discovered was small but situated in a precarious location. The surgery had been successful, but today's follow-up scan would determine if the tumor was truly gone or if they were facing another battle. As they followed the nurse down the corridor, Alexandra whispered hurriedly to Mark, "I'm Alexandra. My son is Tyler. He's 12. The doctor is checking if his brain tumor has returned after surgery." Mark nodded, processing this information while still clutching Emma's teddy bear. "Mark Jenkins," he whispered back. "My daughter Emma is 8. We're here for leukemia testing." Alexandra's step faltered for just a moment, her hand instinctively reaching for his arm in a gesture of solidarity. In that brief touch, something passed between them, an understanding that transcended their differences. They were just two parents standing on the edge of a cliff, waiting to see if the ground would hold. Dr. Patel's office was warmly lit, with children's artwork framing his medical degrees on the wall. Tyler sat in one of the chairs, a lanky boy with his mother's sharp features softened by youth. He looked up from his handheld game console, surprise registering on his face at the sight of Mark. "Tyler, this is..." Alexandra began. Mark supplied, stepping forward with a natural ease that surprised even himself. "Good to see you again, buddy." Tyler's eyes narrowed slightly in confusion, but something in Mark's expression, the genuine concern, perhaps, seemed to resonate with the boy. He nodded slowly. "Hey." Dr. Patel entered moments later, his kind face breaking into a smile. "The whole family's here today." "Excellent." He shook Mark's hand firmly. "I don't believe we've met before." "I'm Dr. Patel." "Mark Jenkins," he replied, feeling a twinge of guilt at the deception but pushing it aside for Alexandra's sake. "Sorry I missed the previous appointments. Work has been challenging." Dr. Patel nodded understandingly before turning to his computer. "Well, I'm glad you could make it today. This is an important one." As the doctor pulled up Tyler's scan results, Mark felt Alexandra's hand find his. Her grip was tight, almost painful, but he didn't pull away. Instead, he gave her hand a gentle squeeze, the same reassuring pressure he used when Emma was frightened. "I have good news," Dr. Patel announced, turning the screen toward them. "The surgical site is healing beautifully, and there's no sign of regrowth. The tumor appears to be completely gone." Alexandra made a sound somewhere between a gasp and a sob. Tyler's face broke into a wide grin, the first genuine smile Mark had seen from the boy. And Mark, playing a role that suddenly felt less like pretending, found himself blinking back tears of relief for this family he'd just met. "We'll continue with regular monitoring, of course," Dr. Patel continued, "but I think we can extend the intervals between scans now. Tyler, how have the headaches been?" As Tyler and the doctor discussed his symptoms, Mark felt Alexandra's grip on his hand loosen slightly, though she didn't let go. He glanced at her profile, noticing the single tear tracking down her cheek that she quickly wiped away with her free hand. When the appointment concluded, Dr. Patel shook Mark's hand again. "It's good to finally meet you, Mr. Jenkins. Your wife has been remarkably strong through all of this, but I'm sure having your support makes all the difference." Mark nodded, unable to find appropriate words. As they left the office, Tyler bounded ahead, his step lighter than before, while Alexandra and Mark followed more slowly. "I don't know how to thank you," Alexandra said quietly once they were out of earshot of the doctor. "You didn't have to do that." Mark shrugged, suddenly remembering Emma's teddy bear still clutched in his other hand. "We parents have to stick together, right?" Alexandra's eyes fell to the teddy bear, and her expression sobered. "Your daughter's appointment, when is it?" Mark checked his watch. "About 5 minutes ago." "I should. Let me come with you," Alexandra said suddenly. "Not as your wife or anything, just, no one should have to hear that kind of news alone." Before Mark could respond, a nurse appeared in the hallway. "Mr. Jenkins? Dr. Levine is ready for you now." The walk to Dr. Levine's office felt like the longest journey of Mark's life. Each step brought him closer to a truth he wasn't sure he was strong enough to face. Alexandra walked beside him, her presence somehow both foreign and comforting. Emma's mother died when she was 3, Mark found himself saying. "Car accident. It's been just the two of us since then." Alexandra nodded, not offering platitudes or pity, just quiet understanding. "Tyler's father and I divorced when Tyler was 7. Jason has a new family now in Seattle. He tries, sometimes, but it's not the same as being there," Mark finished. "No, it's not." Dr. Levine was a petite woman with kind eyes and a gentle manner that had immediately put Emma at ease during their first meeting. She greeted Mark warmly and raised an eyebrow at Alexandra's presence but didn't question it. "I have Emma's test results," she said, gesturing for them to sit. "We ran a complete blood panel and bone marrow aspiration. Mark felt his heart hammering against his ribs. Alexandra, sensing his distress, moved her chair slightly closer to his. "Mr. Jenkins, I know these past few months have been frightening," Dr. Levine began, "but I'm pleased to tell you that Emma does not have leukemia." The relief that flooded through Mark was so intense that for a moment, he couldn't breathe. "She doesn't?" "No. Emma has a condition called immune thrombocytopenia, or ITP. It's an autoimmune disorder where the body attacks its own platelets, which explains the bruising and nosebleeds. The fatigue is likely related to mild anemia, which often accompanies ITP. Is it serious?" Mark managed to ask. "It can be, but Emma's case appears to be moderate. Many children with ITP recover completely within 6 months to a year without specific treatment. We'll monitor her closely, and if the symptoms worsen, we have several effective treatment options." As Dr. Levine continued explaining Emma's condition and treatment plan, Mark felt something inside him uncoil, a tension so constant he'd almost forgotten it was there. His daughter didn't have cancer. She had a condition with a name he could barely pronounce, but it wasn't cancer. When they left Dr. Levine's office, Mark found himself leaning against the wall in the hallway, overcome with emotion. Alexandra stood quietly beside him, giving him space while ensuring he wasn't alone. "She's going to be okay," Mark said, his voice thick. "She's actually going to be okay." Alexandra smiled, her own eyes suspiciously bright. "Yes, she is. And so is Tyler." They looked at each other then, two strangers who had shared some of the most intimate moments parents could experience, the fear, the hope, the overwhelming relief of good news about their children. "I should call my sister," Mark said finally. "Let her know she can bring Emma home." Alexandra nodded. "And I promise Tyler ice cream if the scan was clear." "A deal's a deal." They walked together toward the hospital exit, their steps lighter than when they'd entered. "Thank you," Mark said as they reached the sliding doors. "For staying with me in there." "Thank you for being my fake husband," Alexandra replied with a small smile. "I think you saved us both today." As they prepared to part ways, Alexandra hesitated, then pulled a business card from her portfolio. "If Emma ever wants a playdate with a slightly older kid who also knows what it's like to be poked and prodded by doctors, or if you ever want to talk to someone who understands, well, my number's on there." Mark took the card, noticing the embossed title, Alexandra Calloway, Chief Executive Officer. "You're a CEO?" Alexandra shrugged. "That's just my day job. My real job is being Tyler's mom." Mark smiled, understanding completely. "I'm a construction foreman, but being Emma's dad is the only title that matters." They stood there for a moment longer, neither quite ready to break the connection that had formed so unexpectedly. "Maybe we could get coffee sometime?" Mark suggested. "Compare notes on single parenting?" Alexandra's smile reached her eyes this time. "I'd like that." 6 months later, Mark sat on a park bench watching Emma and Tyler chase each other around the playground. Emma's ITP was improving steadily, her energy returning with each passing week. Tyler had been declared officially in remission at his last checkup. Alexandra settled beside him, handing him a cup of coffee from the nearby cafe. "Cream, no sugar," she said. "I remembered." "Thanks," Mark replied, taking the cup. Their fingers brushed in the exchange, a touch that had become familiar over months of coffee dates, family dinners, and shared doctor appointments. "Tyler asked me something interesting this morning," Alexandra said, watching the children play. "He wanted to know if you were my boyfriend." Mark raised an eyebrow. "And what did you tell him?" "I told him I'd have to get back to him on that." She turned to face him fully. "What would you have said?" Mark considered the woman beside him, the CEO who could command a boardroom but still got teary-eyed when Tyler hit a home run in Little League, the mother who had stood beside him through Emma's treatments as if his daughter's health mattered as much to her as her own son's. "I would have said," Mark began slowly, that I'm the luckiest man alive to have met you in that waiting room, and that being your fake husband for 20 minutes was the best decision I ever made." Alexandra's laugh was soft and warm. "That doesn't exactly answer the question." "No," Mark agreed, reaching for her hand. "But maybe this does." When he kissed her, it felt like coming home after a very long journey, familiar and new all at once. From the playground, Emma's voice called out, "Dad." "Alexandra. Look at us." They turned to see Emma standing on Tyler's shoulders, both children beaming with pride at their acrobatic achievement. "Careful." Mark and Alexandra called in unison, then looked at each other and laughed. Some partnerships, Mark reflected, began in the most unexpected places, like a hospital waiting room where two frightened parents found strength in each other when they needed it most. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Remember that sometimes the most beautiful connections happen when we're at our most vulnerable, and that even in our darkest moments, we're never truly alone. Share this video with someone who might need a reminder that hope can find us in the most unexpected places, and that sometimes, the family we need is just waiting to be found.